Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
And I am Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from odious ogres to opaque oceans. And today, we're talking about orcs. The Dungeoncast. All right, Brian.
We're talking about orcs.
I know.
This is like, it seems like we should have talked about this like a
long
time ago.
Yeah, like we've been doing this show for about a year and a half, and this was our first dive into orcs, which is kind of crazy.
Well, we talked about half orcs, and there's a lot of orc info in there.
There's a little bit.
Kinda.
There's a little bit. There's a little contextual info in there. A lot of the info we're going to talk about today has nothing to do with that. So
yeah, today we're going full orc. And,
full orc.
You don't want to look directly at it because it's
orc.
Gross.
Yeah, you never go 100% orc.
Never go full orc.
Okay, so an orc. Unlike a lot of the other creatures that we've talked about in Dungeons and Dragons, orcs are not based off mythology. They're based off Tolkien's work. Tolkien made up orcs for the most part. There's stuff he took from mythology here and there, but the idea of the orc is a Tolkien idea.
Okay, so more or less an original concept.
Yeah, for Tolkien, yeah. And D&D took that, and they changed it a bit, but the orcs in D&D are largely based off of Tolkien's orcs for the most part.
Well, so Tolkien's orcs were like bad elves, right?
Yeah, I think it said that like they were originally elves that were twisted by Morgoth. I don't think they say Morgoth's name in the movies, but the thing with Morgoth, from my understanding, is that like he didn't have the ability to create life.
Only manipulate.
This has something to do with he was denied access to. I can't remember the name of these things, so don't quote me directly, but there was like this eternal fire that like could create life. And it's what like certain gods created, the certain goddess created the dwarves, and like the main god created elves and men. But Morgoth didn't have access to this fire.
User access.
Because he was a dickhead.
Well, IT didn't want to give it to him because he was going to abuse it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So what he had to resort to was taking creations that were already made and then twisting them.
Nice.
And that's how we made their orcs.
Okay. Well, not nice, but you know.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's mostly accurate. I'm sure there's little things here and there that aren't, but it's been a long time since I read anything.
That's a big picture. Yeah. We just get a concept
you get
going.
the idea.
I understand.
Let's go back to D&D.
Should we?
We should.
We don't have to.
So orcs are a humanoid race. They stand roughly about 6 feet in height, sometimes a little taller. Their skin colors range from green to gray. They are noted to have like a stooped posture. With they have low foreheads.
What's a stooped posture? It's not like hunched over.
A little bit hunched over.
A little bit, but not a lot, right? Just kind of hulking.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. A little bit hulking. So they have like low foreheads, a piggish face, prominent lower canines that are like tusks.
Oh yeah,
and broad, well-muscled build. Like that's like really bulky.
Like the World of Warcraft kind of paints a picture of it, like a bigger, broader, like stockier version of what you're describing. But absolutely. The facial features like really ring true on that.
Very much so. You know what also looks exactly like this? Moblins from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
they look just like this. So
cool.
Moblins are basically based off orcs.
Moblins and Hokoblins.
Yeah, except for the Hokoblins are much
more
smaller.
Like goblins.
Yeah, they're more like goblins. Yeah. Okay. So the orcs are typically depicted as like a semi-nomadic tribal race dedicated to strength, war. They're deeply devoted to their orcish pantheon, especially Grumps. Who is their chief deity?
What?
Grumps.
Grumps. That sounds like a bad
I suppose
brand
it
of
could be
cereal.
pronounced Grumps.
Grumps.
And I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life.
That sounds like a mushroom.
But I'm pretty sure it's Grumps. It has 2 U's though.
Grumps. So. When you pour your milk on it, it doesn't get soggy.
Indeed. So Grumps is very important to orcish ways, the orcish way of life. He's their chief deity. He's the greater god of conquest, survival, strength, and territory, and war, and slaughter, and a bunch of other bad stuff. The orcish way of life...
Grumps, god of bad stuff.
Yeah. The orcish way of life really begins and ends with their chief deity, Grumps.
Nice.
He's also called Grumps One Eye, because he has one eye.
So, hang on. It's a chief... so it is a deity?
It's a deity, yes.
Okay,
it is a god.
Celestial plane, or like...
We'll get into that in a bit. He's their creator.
All right.
And he's their ruler.
Nice.
So the story goes that when the mortal plane was being divided up amongst the mortal races by the gods, Grumps attempted to make some claims. He started with the mountains. He tried to claim the mountains for the orcs, but saw that they were taken by the dwarves. And then he attempted to claim the forest, but saw they were taken by the elves. And so on and so forth, as he's like trying to like, okay, well, I'll give my orcs this. And it's like, oh no, that's taken by somebody else.
He lost the draft lottery.
He lost the draft lottery. And the story is told that the other gods laughed at Grumps. And he replied...
They invited him late on purpose. And they're like, ah.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the story is told by orcs.
What's up, idiot?
And he replied in fury. He grabbed his mighty spear and he laid waste to the mountains and forests.
Nice.
And he proclaimed that this would be the role of his orcs, to take and destroy what the other races denied them initially.
Wow. So like the whole bit is to like just fuck people up.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. Now, I'm not sure how well this story tracks with the orcs in Forgotten Realms, because if I remember correctly, the orcs in Forgotten Realms are not native to Toril, or I think Toril has like a sister world, Aber. So Aber, Toril, they're not native to that world, and I can't remember where they come from. So I don't think this story kind of tracks with that, but this is like literal lore from Volo's Guide. So
okay, do with it what you will.
The orcs in general have a disdain for all civilized races, but they do have a special place of loathing in their hearts for elves, because part of this divine war that Grumps kind of started, when Grumps came up against the elves, he fought with Corellon Lorethian, and the story goes that Corellon Lorethian defeated Grumps and pierced out one of his eyes with a well-placed arrow. So because of this story, orcs have a special disdain for elves, and that's also why he's called Grumps One Eye, because he has one eye.
That's got to be crazy to like take an arrow to the eye and not get hit like in the brain and die.
Well, he is a god, so there that is.
Super. The eye. There's so much mass in there. Just stop the arrow.
I guess so.
There was no getting the arrow out without also taking the eye.
Yeah, there you go. So when attacking elf settlements, orcs usually, when they're attacking a settlement, they kill, they like the kill, they like the fight, but it's mostly about looting. It's mostly about the resources and the taking. With elves, hell no. It's about kill, burn it to the ground. We don't even want their stuff. Just kill it and destroy it all. They want to annihilate the elves.
Wow, that's nuts.
So the elves have a special, not rivalry, but they have enmity with the orcs.
Yeah, they got to watch out for that.
Indeed.
It's like, dude, we always got to watch out for orcs. You see orcs, just kill them.
Yeah. Now, orcs are going to fall somewhere, okay, we talked about gnolls, we talked about hobgoblins. Gnolls, incredibly chaotic, really, really demonic.
Right, they worship deity as well.
Yeah, indeed. The hobgoblins, very organized, very structured,
worshiping
very
God.
lawful. Orcs fall somewhere between the two.
Okay.
Maybe like dead center between the two.
Like literally like the gnolls are like rovers. Like they don't ever stop.
Yeah, gnolls
right?
don't have a home. They never stop.
So orcs have a home, but they might
temporary homes.
Yeah, they might change homes.
We'll get into that later.
They sound like Goliaths, the way Goliaths like roam in a pack, kind of.
Kinda. Let's talk about their deities for a bit, because there's more than a few deities that the orcs worship, and they're all very important. But for this episode, I only want to focus on the two that matter most, Grumps and his wife, Luthik, because these are the two that affect the majority of orcs in their everyday life.
Okay.
And so, let's talk about them. So Grumps demands strength and he demands glory. And because of all this, orcs are trained from a young age to be warriors, all of them.
Okay.
They're raised to be savages, ferocious and relentless on the battlefield. Their ultimate reward for being this way is to join Grumpsh's horde on the battlefields of Acheron. So,
Dark Valhalla.
I don't know if you remember in the Goblins and Hobgoblins episode when we talked about Maglubiet.
Yes.
Maglubiet is a great god of war and conquest and whatever. He rules the goblins. He also lives in Acheron. And guess who he fights? Grumps.
What the fuck?
So Grumps
really?
and Maglubiet are constantly in war on the plain of Acheron, and they're constantly recruiting people from the species that they rule, and the idea is one of them will eventually win out.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
I thought it was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting.
It sucks to have to like duke it out for all eternity, it sounds like.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the general, like that's their Valhalla, if you will.
Yeah.
Grumps doesn't see the orcs as people. He sees them as tools to be used for his revenge.
Yeah, they're military pawns.
And he fuels them with this ceaseless like propaganda to anger them and fill them with rage. Like that's what it is. It's propaganda. He tells them this story of how they were fucked out of their place in society. And maybe he's right. It's hard to tell. It's been a long time. But he makes it so that they can never be part of society.
This is super like a never give up mentality. Like we're going to do this till the end of time.
Yeah. And so with all this rage and ferocity instilled into them, the orcs make for a very naturally chaotic and unorganized people guided by their emotions and instincts. Very chaotic, like the gnolls, you would think.
Okay.
Like with nothing but Grumpsh's influence, that's probably what they would default to. But there's a few things that circumvent this. One of them is some things that Grumps does, and we'll start with that. So the first thing that circumvents orcs from being essentially Gnolls 2.0 is Grumps singles out special individuals amongst the orc people that prove worth to him.
Okay.
He will, like, if they're great warriors, it's really the only way to do it. He will then provide them with dreams that will change them both physically, make them stronger, like supernaturally and bigger.
Wow.
And psychologically, he will make them smarter, more cunning.
Damn, that's powerful.
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
by doing that, they become more intelligent, charismatic, and physically stronger, and will rise to positions of leadership naturally. And with their force of will and their force of arm, they will keep an orc tribe together and on a warpath.
It's like, hey, orc buddy, you seem like a lot smarter today.
Yeah.
Everything all right?
So, yeah, that's a good point.
Because yesterday
I'm sure it's a gradual process. Like, it's probably over the course of like a couple months.
Yesterday you were eating like entire apples. Today I noticed you're like leaving the core and throwing it away like a normal person.
Yeah, sure. You become more civilized. So that's one way. And so that's the most minimal of ways that the orcs stay organized in any way. The second way is by the will of Grumpsh's wife, Luthig.
Okay.
Who I think is a much cooler deity than Grumps.
They're teaming up to make these orcs real good.
While Grumps is the external force that is pushing the orcs towards a goal, Luthig is the binding agent holding the tribe together from within. She commands all orcs to breed often and without discrimination in order to keep their numbers up. She gives special protection to like the childbearers and the youngsters and whatnot. She teaches them to be strong and ruthless, but she teaches them to stay together and
community. Yeah. It's motherly. So
she's motherly. She's called the cave mother.
Nice. Okay.
I think she takes the form of a bear a lot of times to them.
My favorite.
She charges her followers to focus on the raising the brood, protecting the food stores, and serve as crafters and builders to the major warriors.
Okay.
So yeah. Let's talk about the indiscriminate breeding. So yeah, orcs will breed indiscriminately, and anything that an orc mates with, unless it is an ogre, will become a half orc.
Okay.
If an orc and an ogre mate, it will become this thing called an ogrelon, which is just a half orc, half ogre monstrosity. It's just somewhere between. Like, an ogre is stupider and bigger and stronger than an orc.
Okay.
An orc is more dexterous and smarter than an ogre. An ogrelon is somewhere right between that. That's really all you need to know about.
It's just another half orc. So that brings up a good question about half orcs and like what like is the other half of the orc. Does that matter?
This is saying it does not matter.
Okay.
It's kind of like how a tiefling, if you have a child with a tiefling will always be born.
Okay.
The idea of that, although that's not always the case, because there's the other lore where the tiefling genome only shows up once every 3 generations or whatever.
Sure. Okay.
There's 2 sets of lore for that. But this is a similar thing where orcs breed true to a certain extent, where it's like, whether it's an elf, a dwarf, a human, a satyr, it doesn't matter. It's going to be half orc.
So that implies that all half orcs look the same, no matter what the race, right? The other half of the race.
That's what it implies. I would imagine that there might be some aesthetic things.
Yeah.
It also implies, and I guess it kind of would make sense since Luthig is all about progeneration and like spreading the seed. It would also implies that the orc genetics are stronger than any other genetics out there.
Yeah, like if they're getting in there, they're in there.
Yeah, which is pretty nuts to think about. As a matter of fact, let's stop thinking about it. I want to take a short rest.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Short rest.
Short rest time.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the part of the show where we are resting. All right. And we are also thanking you guys, the listener. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, thank you so much for listening to the show. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We love you very much, and we really appreciate everybody that's been jumping on board. Hello, new people. Thanks for catching the show. We're hoping you're enjoying this episode about the topic that we were talking about before the short rest that we're not talking about now. Hey, do you like the show? Do you know people who might like the show? Please tell them about the show, because it's the only way that we're going to really be able to spread the word. There's one other way that me and Will are trying to spread the word about the show, and it has to do with rewarding our listenership with books. We all know how much you love books because you like D&D. You must like books. Okay, so let's talk about it, Will.
So we're giving away 2 books. They're the same book, but they're 2 copies.
Yep, 2 books, same book.
Yeah, 2 copies, 2 contests. We have 1 contest on Twitter where if you want to win a copy of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, All you have to do is tweet a link to our show to your followers with the hashtag Dungeoncast, and you'll be entered into the contest to win a copy of Tome of Foes. And I believe that we are announcing the winner on May 29th. So it sounds like you got a week.
Should be like next week. Yeah.
Should be next
from
week.
This drop.
Yeah. The other contest on YouTube, go ahead and check out our video titled Our Morning Kindness Tome of Foes giveaway. And if you like that video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment below stating what you're most excited to see about in the upcoming book. You'll be entered in that contest, which we will also be announcing the winner for on May 29th. So you have a week.
Yeah. If you subscribe to the show on YouTube, leave that comment, hit that like button.
Yeah. Subscribe.
Yeah. Tell your friends about that contest, because it's really we want to get like word out about the show.
Yeah, we're trying to grow.
These contests are designed to like help do that. So
and also it feels good to give away a book that costs money to someone who wants it. So
and we appreciate you guys. We want to do stuff for you guys and give back because you guys have been so giving to us.
And the bigger we get, the more contests we will run.
Oh yeah. We like contests. Will likes contests especially. You can find our show on soundcloud.com/thedungeoncast or search for it on YouTube like we mentioned before, or you can email us at thedungeoncast@gmail.com. As Will mentioned earlier, you can find us on Twitter at thedungeoncast. Any podcast app.
Yeah.
We're there.
Any
of them, really.
Literally.
Yeah. Use your favorite.
Yeah.
Leave us an iTunes review also. I don't think we've mentioned that in a while.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, it would be really...
It helps us, and we'd appreciate it.
They're always really sweet, too. Thanks, guys.
They're very nice to read. I read them all.
And the YouTube comments, too. A lot of them have been very nice lately, so thank you guys very much. But we want to get you back to that content that you're here for, so let's go back to the show.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are. It feels like it's been a long time.
Feels like it's been a while.
Got that good short rest in.
Indeed, we did. So let's get back into it. So we were talking about Luthik, and we got some more to talk about her. So unlike Grumps, who we established, he sees the orcs more as like a tool to be used for his own reasons. He doesn't see them as a people. It is very well implied that Luthik loves the orcs and sees them as her children.
Okay.
And there was a nice little part in Volo's guide where it stated that she loves them so much that she wouldn't hesitate from taking the battlefield herself and clawing out Maglubiet's beady little eyes to keep him from taking her children away.
Wow.
And I was like, I like Luthik. She's really cool.
Protective.
So, very protective. Yeah, she cares about them. It's also even alluded to she's so protective and strong and keeps them so well bounded together that when all is said and done with this war in Akron, it is very likely that she will be the only one left standing. Like Grumps and Maglubiet will likely fall in the crazy battle, but she'll keep the orcs together and alive. And when it's all said and done, the goblins will be wiped out, and her orcs will be all that is left. But whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's also responsible for the birth of these special orcs called Orcs. Orcs are essentially orcs that are blessed by Luthik. And they're blessed with a keen intellect and are generally stronger than normal orcs.
So like the same looking, but better, just super orcs?
So yeah, they're just super orcs. They look the same with the art that's depicted of them.
Okay.
And I couldn't find any writings to say that they look different. But it is pretty well established that orcs recognize an Orog upon birth.
They're like, look at those biceps. Oh my God.
So there's some conflicting lore between Volo's guide and the monster manual on Orogs and their role in orc society and their general behavior.
When there are issues with like errata in D&D, what normally is it like? Do you go to the like Wizards of the Coast website to get a clarification?
When it comes to lore, it's just hand waved. I mean, that's the thing. All this lore is fluid, anyways. It changes from edition to edition.
True.
It changes based off setting. Okay, pause for a second. I know that I give Forgotten Realms a hard time, and like
it's true.
It's because. It's because Forgotten Realms suffers from the same thing that comic books tend to suffer from. They have this extended continuity over the course of decades that is handled by
multiple different people, right?
Yeah, by different writers that come in and write different stories, and then they go somewhere else. Like it's just like comic books. Like Brian Michael Bendis from Marvel. He showed up, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he did a bunch of stuff, and now he's gone. He's no longer at Marvel, and other people come in, and there's constant shifting writers.
And it's the same storyline.
And it's the same history. It's the same continuity. And when continuities get so long, they become convoluted. There's going to be contradictory information.
You lose those little details.
You lose the little details.
And one person can keep track of.
With Marvel Comics, it's a lot worse. Marvel Comics hasn't rebooted in 75 years. I think they're due for one, but that's just my personal opinion. I feel like Forgotten Realms suffers from the same thing, and like you're gonna get conflicting lore, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like that's just the way it goes.
So be it.
So back to the conflicting lore. According to the monster manual, Orcs are especially ruthless and cunning orcs. They tend to take command of their tribe because of their cunning and strength, but more so than other orcs, they're especially ruthless because they are emotionally detached killers that have no concept of love, and they don't even feel anything for their immediate family.
Is that why they need a god to like promote breeding?
I guess so. This is in direct contrast with like Luthic's message, so it doesn't even make sense that Luthic would make these things,
right? Because they she also do this, but also bone a bunch.
Right. When Orcs are born in number, they often form their own elite war group at the forefront of every raid and every battle. The reputation is such that orcs tend to mistrust Orcs in their ranks because they will overtake a tribe and direct a tribe away from whatever its intended goal originally was. They'll often overthrow whoever the chieftain is.
Repurpose the warriors
everything.
There.
Yeah. Okay. So they often don't trust Orcs in the ranks. Now that's according to the monster manual. Let's get into Volo's guide because it's much different. In Volo's guide, the idea behind Orcs is that they are indoctrinated from birth by the priestesses of Luthic. Ooh. And they serve as a balancing force between the tribe and the chieftain and the more aggressive members of the tribe.
Okay.
So because the more aggressive members of the tribe, the ones that are super into Grumps, are all about strength, and they're not about all this organization and other stuff that they see as weakness.
Okay.
So they tend to bully the followers of Luthic and the younglings and whatnot and all that stuff. So the Orcs are literally there to protect the youth and protect the child bearers and protect the food stores,
the gatekeepers of community.
Exactly. So the Orcs really have this role of like keeping everything together, and they actually, instead of being at the forefront of every raid, it's said that Orcs almost never go out on raids because they are staying at the stronghold and protecting it for
the future.
Exactly, for the future.
Okay, so, to ensure like the continuation of the tribe.
They strive not to lead, but to keep the tribe together and strong. This is again directly contrasting the soulless killer that the monster manual.
Honestly, I like this better. It makes a lot of sense.
Me too.
Like, don't send your best to go fight when you have very capable people of going to fight. Leave them to protect.
Indeed. So, orcs can also abandon their gods, obviously. And sometimes they decide to just follow a powerful being like a dragon. It's common for dragons to take control of an orc tribe. Now the orc tribe just serves a dragon. Or Sauron, yeah, sure. Or giants. Orcs will often worship ice giants and start like being their little minions.
Oh, fuck.
Or
get subjugated by fire giants.
Or that, yeah. Some turn to demon lords, namely Baphomet, who is the main demon lord behind like Minotaurs and stuff.
Okay.
Well, he'll get his own episode, definitely. But he'll often corrupt the orcs and turn them into what are called Tanaruks, which are like these big half demon, half orcs, much like the Flind from Knowles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's another type of orc tribe you can
super
have out
duper
there.
orcs.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my basic on orcs and their culture. You know, they're raiders, they're nomads. There's a kind of a history and a story as to why that is. And then they have this whole concept of going to Acheron and fighting in an eternal war against Magluviat.
Yeah, for glory or whatever.
Glory.
Yeah.
This is a very one-dimensional kind of thing. I mean, there's a little bit of nuance here. There's a little bit of complexity with Luthic and whatnot, and I like it. I think it's good.
I like that dynamic. It makes sense for the orcs to like, dude, if they're just going out and like trying to be, basically murder hobos, like they're gonna die out.
Yeah,
but
yeah, absolutely.
With the Luthic side, it makes sense.
Yeah, it keeps it together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tend to use almost any of this. My orcs tend to be more like primal and druidic type of worshipers. They worship like the earth and the air and whatnot.
Okay.
And I kind of have my cake and eat it too, where I have orcs that are specifically, they've rejected the primitive ways of raiders and killers and have become a more cohesive and not necessarily
more interested in society,
peaceful, but like they just keep to themselves. They're not on the warpath. They have mighty warriors because they are a mighty people, but they're not killing machines. They're not just mindless, faceless mobs.
Not like the dragon, like the dragon in charge of these orcs. Those orcs are mindless killers, pretty much. They're just
because
doing
the
what the dragon
dictates.
Yeah.
Exactly, the dragon dictates them and uses them as a tool and not a people. So that's generally how I do it. But it's really up to you. There's all kinds of ways you can, portray your orcs.
Cool.
Well, so that's basically all I got. I don't know if you got any questions or things to add to the conversation.
Do they make So they must like make their own weapons, right?
I think they do.
Obviously, if they can like raid and steal.
It's more implied that they steal.
Okay.
Because humans, dwarves, and elves tend to make weapons better than they do.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I have seen it done where some people kind of run their orcs. Orcs are in the middle of a industry kind of renaissance.
Oh, nice.
And they're becoming really industrial. And it's like, I really like that. I like this idea of like orc cities.
Steampunk.
They're kind of going like hobgoblin on you.
Yeah.
Because hobgoblins make weapons and they make good weapons.
Right.
And, like I could see orcs taking that role as well. There's no reason they couldn't.
No, yeah, you're right.
Like they're generally less intelligent, but they're like, while like
they're not stupid.
They're not stupid. Like while humans might average like a 10 to 11, like orcs average about like an 8 maybe a 9 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I see no reason why they couldn't develop a society and become a complex society. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe they made a dwarf buddy and he's just like making hammers.
Although dwarves and orcs don't get along very well at all because orcs often like the underground homes that dwarves have. So when they raid dwarves, they're usually looking to stay.
Oh,
so they try and annihilate and push the dwarves out. And now it's like, yeah, now we have this underground stronghold. They just like that environment.
So elves and dwarves not fans of orcs.
Yeah,
at
for
all.
different reasons.
Okay.
But both dwarves and elves have a special enmity for orcs. So
are orcs teaming up with other like mobs basically ever? You ever see that?
Not especially. I suppose some gnolls might take some orcs on if orcs are like in for the kill.
So is that the pecking order? Is it like gnolls, orcs, or is it?
No, not usually. I would say that gnolls and orcs are probably equal in like their ability to wage war.
Yeah, okay.
On each other. So I imagine, like orcs don't fuck with gnolls because gnolls are fucking crazy. But like they're not afraid of gnolls.
Yeah,
like it's not like, oh shit, gnolls, we better get out of here.
Right.
So
It's
like,
just
oh
like
shit,
gnolls.
we better like draw a line in the sand and make sure they stay the fuck out.
Right.
Because they're like they're you can't control them.
Yeah, don't get near them.
Indeed.
Like, let's just let them do their thing. They'll be gone in a few days.
Yeah. Now, orc tribes can come together and form a horde, much like hobgoblins or gnolls. They can do that too. It's really up to who's in charge, how much control they can exert, and what Grumpsh's will kind of is. So
I noticed there's a lot less. Like there's some tiered ranks of orcs, like you know, but like nothing like goblins or hobgoblins, where like your social rank is like can drastically vary.
yeah,
you know?
hobgoblins very lawful, very organized.
Yeah.
Gnolls completely chaotic. Orcs.
But even gnolls, they have like tiers of like they have power levels pretty much, you know.
I mean, you have your normal gnolls, and then you have the Flins. And
Wasn't there another one?
The warlord or whatever. I can't remember what they're called.
Oh, that's about the same as
yeah,
orcs.
it's kind of the same as orcs, where orcs, like they're special ones blessed by their gods that are stronger.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same deal.
Cool.
It's just on the chaos to law spectrum, they're like dead center between gnolls and hobgoblins.
I think power level they're like pretty centralized too, right? They're like pretty good to throw at level 5 characters.
Yeah, I would say all the mobs are pretty much at the same power level. Like gnolls, orcs, hobgoblins, all around the same power level range.
So really it's just like more like the higher level your players are, the more you have to throw at them.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
And it's not really like the power, like maybe throw in a few more powered up versions, like the what is it, the Ogarth?
Oh, the Orogs? Or the
Orogs, that's what it
Ogrelons
is.
or the half ogres. Like,
Yeah,
you
those.
have options with orcs. You have the Ogrelons, you have the Orogs. There are some like specialized, like we didn't really get into the other orc deities. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but there's like they have like a deity of like plague and disease who like has cultists that like learn like certain like plague like spell like stuff and stuff like that. I just figured the orc pantheon will probably get an episode as a whole.
Oh wow, okay.
They're not so fleshed out that they'll each get their own individual episode.
But we could do them all.
But we could
in
do
one.
an orc pantheon episode.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That'll be cool stuff. But that being said, I think we can call it a game.
Let's call it a game.
Let's call it a game. We'll talk to you guys later.